What if the greatest threat to society wasn't evil, but obedience without thought? What if the people dismantling truth, decency, and even your future weren't villains, but neighbors, co-workers, even loved ones who've simply stopped thinking? According to German theologian and anti-Nazi resistance fighter Dietrich Bonhoeffer, stupidity isn't a lack of intelligence, it's something far darker. It's a moral failure, a surrender of the mind. And unlike evil, which can be confronted and exposed, stupidity is immune to reason, deaf to truth, and devastating in silence. In 1943, from a prison cell just weeks before his execution, Bonhoeffer wrote the words that would become his most disturbing insight: "Against stupidity, we are defenseless." He had witnessed a country of philosophers and poets transform into a society of blind followers, people who didn't commit atrocities, but who quietly enabled them, not because they were malicious, but because they had stopped thinking for themselves. And that's what makes stupidity so terrifying. It doesn't look like a threat. It wears a smile, hides behind good intentions, and believes it's on the right side of history. In this video, we're going to unravel Bonhoeffer's forgotten theory of stupidity, how it infects minds, empowers evil, and threatens the very fabric of civilization. And by the end, you'll understand why fighting stupidity might be the last real battle worth choosing. Stick around, because if you miss what comes next, you might never see the danger coming. When Dietrich Bonhoeffer spoke of stupidity, he wasn't referring to low intelligence. He meant something far more dangerous, a conscious retreat from thinking. To him, stupidity was not an intellectual defect, but a moral one, a failure of courage, a willing enslavement of the mind. This is why some of the most stupid people in history have held degrees, honors, and influence. They weren't fools by birth, they became fools by choice. When critical thought became uncomfortable, they chose silence. When truth became dangerous, they chose convenience. Bonhoeffer wrote, "Stupidity is a more dangerous enemy of the good than malice." Why? Because evil at some level knows it is evil. It wears a mask, feels guilt, can be exposed. But stupidity is blind. It believes it's right, it believes it's good, and it never questions why. This is what makes stupidity immune to truth. You can argue with a criminal, but not with a slogan. You can confront evil, but you cannot persuade someone who has surrendered their mind to catchphrases, propaganda, or groupthink. You're not speaking to a person, you're speaking to a programmed response. Bonhoeffer saw this firsthand. Intellectuals, professors, clergy, people trained to think, abandoned thought when the Nazi regime demanded loyalty. One chilling example: Martin Heidegger, one of the most influential philosophers of the 20th century, joined the Nazi Party in 1933 and never publicly repented. His brilliance was real, but so was his blindness. Intelligence didn't save him from stupidity. It only made his betrayal more devastating. Bonhoeffer's insight was clear. Stupidity is not a lack of brain power, but a lack of responsibility. It emerges when we stop asking questions, when we trade truth for tribe, and when we silence our own conscience for the comfort of certainty. And once that surrender happens, there is no limit to the damage that can follow. In the 1970s, Italian historian Carlo Cipolla tried to do the unthinkable, map human stupidity with the rigor of physics. What he discovered is disturbing. He called it the basic laws of human stupidity and warned that this force has shaped more of history than religion, empire, or ideology. Law 1. We always and inevitably underestimate the number of stupid people in circulation. No matter how cynical you are, there are always more. Stupidity isn't rare, it's rampant, embedded in every layer of society. And because we keep assuming most people are reasonable, we leave ourselves unprotected against the irrational. Law 2. The probability that someone is stupid is independent of any other trait. Stupidity has nothing to do with education, class, status, or even IQ. There are stupid CEOs, stupid professors, stupid doctors, stupid Nobel laureates. Stupidity transcends intelligence. That's what makes it so lethal. Law 3. A stupid person is someone who causes harm to others and to themselves without gaining anything. This is what sets stupidity apart from malice. The criminal at least wants profit. But the stupid person breaks systems, spreads lies, burns down what they live in, for nothing. Think of someone who shares dangerous misinformation, ruins public trust, then suffers the same collapse they helped create. Law 4. Non-stupid people always underestimate the power of stupid ones. We dismiss stupidity as harmless, funny, or fringe, but history proves otherwise. Entire civilizations have collapsed not under evil, but under incompetence, chaos, and thoughtless obedience. As Cipolla warned, stupidity doesn't need a plan, it only needs numbers. Law 5. Stupid people are more dangerous than criminals. You can predict a criminal's behavior. You can't predict a fool's. They act without logic, without purpose, and without limit. That makes them uncontrollable and often irreversible. In Cipolla's view, stupidity is the most powerful destructive force on Earth, and we keep pretending it's a joke. Totalitarian regimes don't rise on the backs of monsters. They rise on the backs of obedient minds. Dietrich Bonhoeffer didn't just witness evil in Nazi Germany. He witnessed a nation surrender its capacity to think. Germany was not an uneducated society. It was a world center of philosophy, music, science, and theology, yet it still embraced fascism. Why? Because intelligence without moral clarity is powerless. What collapsed first was not the state, it was independent thought. Bonhoeffer saw how stupidity becomes political fuel, not just tolerated, but cultivated. The more citizens stop thinking, the easier they are to govern. Stupidity lowers resistance, it silences conscience, it makes atrocity seem normal. Philosopher Hannah Arendt described this with chilling precision in her theory of the banality of evil. After watching Adolf Eichmann, one of the architects of the Holocaust, stand trial, she realized he wasn't a sadist or a mastermind. He was terrifyingly average, a desk worker, a man who simply followed orders. That's what political stupidity looks like. Not rage, not ideology, just obedience. A dangerous moral vacuum where thinking becomes treason. Stupid people aren't just easy to manipulate. They become the very instruments of state violence. They chant the slogans, they enforce the rules, they report the dissenters, not because they're evil, because they're mentally passive and emotionally certain. Bonhoeffer wrote, "Power has a strange way of making people stupid. When obedience becomes virtue and questioning becomes a threat, stupidity isn't the disease, it's the design." This is why every authoritarian system eventually manufactures stupidity at scale. It's not a side effect, it's a strategy. Tyrants don't want thinkers, they want believers. Throughout history, regimes haven't just tolerated stupidity, they've cultivated it. Why? Because stupid people are the perfect tools of power. They don't question, they don't resist, they obey, loudly, proudly, and blindly. Bonhoeffer observed this during the rise of Nazism. It wasn't just the criminals who empowered the regime. It was the ordinary, obedient citizen, the teacher, the clerk, the neighbor, who accepted every order without asking why. These people weren't evil, but they had stopped thinking. That made them more dangerous than any dictator. Power prefers this kind of stupidity. Easier to manipulate, resistant to truth, loyal to simplicity. In such a system, slogans replace ideas, and certainty replaces nuance. The stupid become megaphones, echoing the voice of authority without understanding its source. And once they've internalized the script, no argument can reach them. You're not debating a person, you're debating a program. This is what Bonhoeffer meant when he wrote, "The power of one depends on the stupidity of the many." Power doesn't need violence if stupidity has already silenced truth. Look around. Social media echo chambers, algorithmic propaganda, ideologies that reward loyalty over logic. These aren't accidents, they're features. The less you think, the more you belong. Modern systems don't outlaw free thought, they drown it. They flood your feed with certainty, outrage, and repetition. Not to inform you, but to condition you. Because the conditioned don't revolt, they repost. The terrifying truth is this: stupidity is scalable, and in a hyper-connected world, it spreads faster than truth ever could. That's why every modern regime, whether political, corporate, or cultural, has learned the same ancient trick. You don't need to burn books, you just need people who refuse to read. Stupidity doesn't just happen, it's engineered. Our institutions, our platforms, our incentives, many of them don't punish ignorance, they reward it. Bertrand Russell once warned, "In the modern world, the stupid are cocksure, while the intelligent are full of doubt." And that's exactly what our systems have optimized for: confidence over curiosity, outrage over nuance, speed over depth. Start with education. Many classrooms don't foster critical thinking, they punish it. Students are trained to memorize, regurgitate, comply, not to challenge, not to think independently. The result? A population that equates intelligence with obedience and discomfort with failure. Then comes media. News isn't built to inform, it's built to engage. Context takes too long, headlines hit faster. The most shared content isn't the most accurate, it's the most emotional. Social media turns this into a weapon. Algorithms reward whatever keeps you scrolling. Rage, tribalism, simplicity. Falsehood spreads 6 times faster than truth, MIT 2018. And the more confidently someone posts, the more believable they seem. Welcome to the confidence economy, where the loudest voice drowns out the smartest one. Even our politics has adapted. Populist narratives flatten complexity into good versus evil, us versus them. Dissent becomes disloyalty. Skepticism becomes sabotage. This is not just the result of bad actors. It's the result of bad architecture. We've designed systems that profit from our intellectual laziness. And now we live in a stupidity economy, where the less you think, the more you fit in. Here's the chilling truth. Stupidity today isn't a glitch, it's a business model. It's a political tool, and it's a cultural aesthetic. But systems don't create themselves. We built this, and that means we can unbuild it if we're willing to pay the price of independent thought. You don't argue your way out of stupidity, you liberate yourself from it. Bonhoeffer made it clear, stupidity is not an intellectual defect, it's a condition of submission. And submission is broken not by education, but by emancipation. Liberation happens on 2 fronts, internal and external. Internal liberation means reclaiming your mind from comfort, conformity, and ego. Start with intellectual humility, the rare courage to admit, I might be wrong. This isn't weakness, it's armor. Because the truly dangerous people aren't those who lack information. They're the ones who mistake certainty for truth. Ask yourself often, do I believe this because it's true or because it's easy? Second, external liberation. Free minds don't grow in echo chambers. You need friction, disagreement, a culture that tolerates discomfort. That means choosing environments that reward questions over obedience. Surround yourself with people who challenge, not flatter. Not just smart people, but those who make you rethink. Don't just read, interrogate, ask, what's missing? Who benefits from this message? What am I not seeing? This isn't just philosophical hygiene, it's survival. Because the price of silence in a stupid system is complicity, and Bonhoeffer saw what that cost. He wrote, "Stupidity is not cured by instruction, but by liberation." Meaning, you can't fix someone into thinking, you can only create the conditions for them to wake up. In a world that profits from obedience, your independence is a threat, and that's precisely why it matters. To remain human is to remain mentally free, especially when it's easier not to be. Stupidity isn't just ignorance, it's surrender, and in the hands of power it becomes a weapon. You don't have to be evil to destroy, you just have to stop thinking. So, question loudly, doubt constantly, refuse comfort if it costs you clarity, because in a world ruled by slogans, critical thought is rebellion. Watch the next video if you're ready to see how smart people become the foot soldiers of dangerous ideologies. Stay sharp, stay human, stay free.